Chapter 11 starts on page 140, and it is titled Special Provisions. And special provisions in the contract is basically for the agents to add factual or business details to the contract. And we only add those kind of things in the event there is not a form promulgated by TREC, the Texas Real Estate Commission, to cover. So we don't want to cover any kind of financing details or contingency issues on a sale of other property by buyer or anything like that, because there are TREC promulgated forms that cover those kind of issues. The book goes into and talks about what would be acceptable to add in special provisions. On page 142, if you were, as a licensed agent that were buying or selling on your own behalf, you would need to make that, or could make that disclosure in special provisions, that you were a licensed real estate salesperson or real estate broker. You could, on page 144, 145, add in like a cleaning clause into the contract, where the seller would have the carpets professionally cleaned prior to closing, or the property could be needed to be cleaned. If you could add that, if the buyer had a concern about how the property was going to be left for them, they might make that stipulation and special provisions on cleaning. Page 145 talks about about a buyer's walkthrough, about the seller giving the buyer permission to conduct a walkthrough prior to closing. The contract, oddly enough, does not have anything that specifies how the seller is supposed to leave the property in regard to the cleaning of it. The only thing, there's a little bit of verbiage in I think paragraph 9, maybe paragraph 10, that talks about that the seller must leave the property in a similar condition as it was when the buyer first looked at the property. So that's really the only thing that it talks about. It doesn't specifically go into any kind of wipe the cabinets down, wipe the countertops down, mop the floor, vacuum the carpets, things like that. It doesn't. The contract just does not cover those kind of things in the contract. So if your buyer has a concern about that, put it in special provisions. That's really the only place we can put it. On page 146, 147, there are some more things you can put in special provisions, although we typically don't use special provisions for any of those things. It is available, for you to use in that scenario if the deal fit, or if you needed to put something in there like that. Go ahead and read through the rest of chapter 11. It's pretty straightforward, pretty clear cut, and we'll be back with chapter 12.